What's up, everybody? So here we are. We're kicking off our second question, which is going to be, why do we have duality if life is about oneness? Why do we have duality if life is about oneness? And this question is very powerful, and I get it quite often, especially when people get into the Kibbaline, when they get into the seven hermetic principles, and you start learning about duality, and you start learning about vibration, you start learning about rhythm. Why do we have duality if life is about oneness? Well, to answer that, we need to actually go back a little bit. All right. So, yes, life is about oneness, it's about unity. In fact, to go even further than that, when you follow, you unite. So one of the greatest messages about the Aurora Borealis, the snake that is eating its own tail, is not the math. It's not the deep understanding of, cycles or anything. It is the clear understanding that when you follow something, you come back around to unity. Okay, it's not the fact that it's eating its tail, it's the fact that it is coming one within itself. And so when you follow something, you reach unity, right? You become reunited. And people don't like that a lot because of the fact that obviously following has, implications of trust. If you don't trust the person you're following, that's a problem. But when it comes to duality, right? Duality is very, very important in this life. In fact, understanding that oneness is the goal is exactly why duality exists. Because how can you understand something if you haven't actually gone on a journey to understand it? And how can you go on a journey of oneness if all there is oneness? You need separation. And Conversations with God does a great job of explaining this when it talks about the fact that if you are a candle and you're in front of the sun, you will never know whether or not you're bright. So if you asked yourself internally, just randomly one day, am I a bright candle? You will never be able to answer that as long as you are standing in front of the sun. The sun will always outshine you. So the only thing that you can do at that point is you can take a couple of steps back. And as you take a couple of steps back, what you actually realize is you create a void, right? You create an actual shadow. And from that shadow, you create everything in existence, everything that matters to you. In that shadow is where you actually find out if you're bright. Because the only way you're ever going to find out if you're bright is if you are first in some type of darkness. Now, the problem is we perceive darkness as something that is evil, something that is bad. Okay? So when you're talking about duality, let me show you two different types of duality. You have unconditional love, which basically means that in every decision you make, you choose kindness, compassion, trust, and love. Okay? When you choose those four, when you align those four directional points, you reach unconditional love. So on the opposite side of that pole, you have fear. And fear consists of decisions in worry, in doubt, in hate, and in evil. Okay? And the reason I'm using these words is because the opposite of love is evil. When you see someone and you don't believe that they are loving, you don't believe that they are kind, you don't believe that they have love in their heart, we label them as evil. Okay? So it's not fear, it's evil. The opposite of love is not fear, it is evil. The opposite of unconditional love is fear. Okay, so inside of this cycle, you actually have multiple poles. You actually have multiple dualities. You have unconditional love and you have fear, and then you have love and you have evil. You also have doubt, which would then correspond with compassion, right? Correspond with trust, correspond with kindness. Okay, so the understanding is that there are multiple poles in our lives. There are multiple ways that we can actually compare ourselves. So again, if we go back to that candle that's in front of the sun, it has to back away for it to be able to answer this question. And when it backs away, it creates a shadow. And in that shadow is where duality exists. Because here it is, it knows what light looks like. It sees the sun. And now it understands what a shadow looks like because of where it's at. Okay, it is very important to understand that duality is just an illusion of the oneness, but it is very much required for you to achieve oneness. Okay, oneness and the idea of oneness are already two. Okay, unity and the idea of unity are already two. So you very much need the two together to create the oneness that you are seeking. And another way to perceive this, and it is very important, is to realize that even in relationships and our bonds, we are actually choosing duality. Okay, even though I know very much that me and Caitlin are one. We are one underneath this, right? The body's gone, the mind's gone, we are one and we are connected. But I cannot perceive my partner the same exact way that I perceive everything else. That would be a problem. Okay? So you choose duality. You choose a relationship, a bond, a separation. That's why duality exists. It exists so that you can have a bond with something. Because if duality did not exist, you cannot have a bond. If the whole entire world is blue and you're blue and your friends are blue, how would you tell the difference between anything in the world if everything is blue? You need separation. The problem is that separation does not mean bad. Separation and awareness is a tool. It shows you how to put it all together so that you can have that oneness that you are seeking in life. So duality is very important to be able to reach that level that you want to, of clarity, of understanding that we are all one. Because without it, you can't reach that level. Without it, you just know it, and everyone else knows it. And if knowing was enough, you wouldn't be here in the first place. If you knew what chocolate tastes like, you wouldn't be down here actually having the experience. If you knew what your first kiss was like, you wouldn't be down here having this experience. And I tell people this often, you can read Romeo and Juliet as many times as you want to. The bottom line is that Romeo and Juliet is never going to be enough for you to understand what love is, right? You can watch Titanic as many times as you want to, but until you actually have that experience, you will never know what it's like. This 3D realm exists so that you can experience something. The thing that sucks is most people are experiencing things they don't want to because they haven't tapped into the power of how they create in the first place. Okay? So why do we have duality if life is about oneness? Because without duality, you can't experience oneness. And that is why it is here. That is why it is so important, and that's why it's in the Hermetic principles. The understanding of duality, the understanding of separation in awareness is a powerful tool. But the understanding of separation and duality in unawareness is a terrifying experience. All right? Get your 9 vibes aligned.